Okay, so I'll just relay it very quickly because I know a lot of you have heard the story before. Um, but really, this was dating back to January. I'd already been doing some research on ivermectin off the background of having written a report for doctors to advise them on how they could protect themselves if they're working on the front line for COVID treatment. Excuse me. So, January, unfortunately, my 84-year-old mother caught COVID, and she was at home, but her oxygen saturations were dropping to 80%. So reluctantly, we had to allow her to go into hospital, which was a terrifying thing because, we were hearing stories of people going in and not coming out again, particularly elderly people. So I spoke to the admitting consultant, and and he is almost his first words to me were, she's not a suitable candidate for resuscitation, having told me that she was COVID positive. So what that told me is that the expectations for an elderly person going into hospital were very grim. They weren't expecting them to survive. So anyway, let me fast forward this story. 3 weeks into her admission, she was losing weight, poor appetite. She was on dexamethasone and oxygen, but every time they tried to take the oxygen from her, she desaturated again. She was on antibiotics. At this point, I spoke to a different consultant who she was under now and said, have you heard of ivermectin and the work that's being done? She hadn't. So I said, look, let me send you some research on it. Have a look at it and I'll call you tomorrow. Let me know what you think. Anyway, her conclusion was, it's very interesting. I've spoke to my colleagues. They think it's too experimental. I cannot prescribe it. So I said, well, look, I want my mother on ivermectin. I can prescribe it for her, can't I? So anyway, this consultant agreed that if I sent the ivermectin into the ward, she would write it up on my mother's drug chart so that the nurses gave it to her over a 5-day period. So within 5 days, my mother was discharged from hospital. So I'm absolutely convinced, this was my first real experience of ivermectin, absolutely convinced it saved her life. She was not looking like she was going to come out of hospital. But within 5 days of her starting ivermectin, they discharged her.